America. In his first month in office, we have seen President Trump work tirelessly to roll back key regulations set in place by the Obama administration. The president's efforts stem from a promise made on the campaign trail where he vowed to eliminate as much as 70% of federal regulations during his time in office. Through the executive order and the Congressional Review Act, the president is attempting to repeal common sense regulations targeted at the EPA, workers' compensation, and overtime pay, gun laws, as well as internet security. The bottom line is that the elimination of these regulations pose serious threat to our planet as well as the well-being of everyday Americans. Yes, indeed, America, it is true. And I mean, to talk about some of these regulations for you, I mean, for example, Trump has signed an executive order in March directing the Environmental Protection Agency to reconsider the Obama administration's Clean Power Plant plan, which we've talked about already. He also signed an executive order in February directing the EPA to rescind or revise the Water of the United States rule, which gives the EPA the authority to regulate pollution in minor bodies of water like streams and ponds. I'm going to read you all of these things and then we'll talk about them, right? Congress also passed and Trump signed resolution under the Congressional Review Act to repeal rules requiring companies to report any labor law violations or alleged violations that they have had in the last 3 years when bidding for federal contracts over $500,000. He went further. The president also did away with rules limiting the ability of states to drug test unemployment benefits. Then he basically rolled back regulations that stopped people with mental illness from getting weapons. He said that you can get weapons. Then he went further. He signed a bill that basically threw away our internet privacy. I'm just going through all these for you, right? Then he signed a bill to allow the Obama rule to prevent minors from dumping coal waste in streams and waterways. Then the Trump administration signaled it's looking to roll back President Obama's rule to expand overtime pay for 4 million Americans. What all of these boil down to is this simple thing. Donald Trump has one simple mission, and that mission is to roll back regulations that help keep us safe, that protect workers, and that protect families. This guy is a weapon of mass destruction for the environment, for workers, and for everyday Americans. The ideal that a mentally ill person can now have access to a gun under Donald Trump's policies is scary. Now, the other one I want to sort of highlight or uplift, if I could, is this one about drug testing, because these ones are always interesting. These drug testing bill, like the ones where they roll back, like they allow the federal government to be more intrusive. So when you go apply for, unemployment benefits, it basically says, we're going to drug test you before we allow you to apply for them. Now, herein lies the problem. Somebody has to do that drug testing, and rarely ever is it the federal government. It's usually some private corporation. And 90% of the time, that private corporation has some sort of connection to a Republican lawmaker. I'll give you the case of Florida, for example, where Governor Rick Snyder did the same type of thing, and guess who got the contract? His former company got the contract to drug test all those people in Florida. Just one example, right? And then you think about all the EPA environmental rollbacks. So now mining companies can throw waste into small streams and to ponds and to rivers that people drink out of, rivers that people fish out of. Now, the mining companies are usually owned by filthy rich Republicans who probably have memberships at Mar-a-Lago. America. Trump's policies only benefit the rich and the wealthy. He ran on a campaign slogan of making America great again, but in turn what he's really doing is making sure that rich white people continue to be rich again. Or richer is the better word for it. So they will benefit while working people suffer. You can't tell me that Donald Trump is America first and jobs first, but he's rolling back a regulation that gives qualified 4 million more Americans to get overtime pay. If he really cared about the steel worker in Michigan, he would ensure and he would fight tooth and nail to ensure that these workers got overtime pay for every hour worked over 40 hours. But he doesn't see it that way. He thinks that you can have this trickle-down economics, where if I bring all these CEOs together and I get rid of all these regulations so all these companies can quote unquote create jobs, or all these companies can get, can become richer, that all that wealth at the top is going to trickle its way down to working families in Kentucky and working families in Ohio and working families in Mississippi. But America, Mr. President, it doesn't work that way. Ronald Reagan tried it and he failed miserably. And so will you. We are approaching the first 100 days of Donald Trump. And if I had to give him a grade, he would get a big fat F. He hasn't created any jobs. He hasn't repealed the Affordable Care Act. All he's done is rolled back regulations that were put in place to help Americans breathe better, eat better, live better, and get higher wages.